गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुदेवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परब्रह्मं तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुदेवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परब्रह्मं तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ध्यानमूलं गुरुमूर्तिः पूजामूलं गुरुपादं मन्त्रमूलं गुरुवाक्यं मोक्षमूलं गुरुकृपा। गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुदेवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परब्रह्मं तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। ओम श्री नारायण परमात्मने नमः।
Thank you, Grishma. Om Shri Nana Paramatmane Namaha. Today, welcome Dr. Padma. Actually ga Dr. Padma ni nendu పిలవాలంటే భక్తుల్లో పద్మలు చాలా మంది ఉన్నారు అండ్ డాక్టర్ పద్మ కూడా ఉన్నారు హైదరాబాద్లో. సో శకుంతలాంటి దివాకర్ రావు గారి ఓన్లీ డాటర్ అంటే 2 sons and 1 daughter and Dr. Padma is their daughter and a very beautiful and wonderful soul Padma. సో దానికి చాలా అంటే నీకు చాలా క్లోజ్ అనుబంధం నాన్నగారితో ఉంది. నీకే కాదు బ్రదర్స్ కి ఏంటి, మీ హస్బెండ్ కి ఏంటి, అఫ్ కోర్స్ పేరెంట్స్ తో స్టార్ట్ అయినా కూడా లైక్ నాన్నగారు ఎప్పుడు కూడా మీ కుటుంబం మొత్తం నా హృదయానికి క్లోజ్ అంటూ ఉండేవారు, నా హృదయంలో ఉన్నారు అంటూ ఉండేవారు. అండ్ ఆల్ ఆఫ్ యూ వర్ సో ఫెయిత్ఫుల్ టు హిమ్. మీకు నాకు తెలిసి భగవంతుడి నుంచి నాన్నగారే. సో ఇట్ బి వండర్ఫుల్ టు యూ హియర్ ఫ్రమ్ యూ. ఎప్పటి నుంచో పెండింగ్ మీది. లాస్ట్ టైం చేద్దాం అనుకున్నాను కానీ యా పాపం యువర్ ఆల్సో బిజీ అండ్ దెన్ యువర్ ప్రొఫెషన్ ఈజ్ ఇన్ సచ్ అ వే లైక్ సచ్ అ నోబుల్ ప్రొఫెషన్. సో ప్రౌడ్ ఆఫ్ యూ పద్మ. నాన్నగారు ఆయన ఉన్నప్పుడు ఎవరైనా బాగా ఎడ్యుకేటెడ్ అకాడమిషియన్స్ ఉన్నా లైక్ కష్టపడి పనిచేసే వాళ్ళైనా అంటే మొహం వెలిగిపోతూ ఉండేది వాళ్ళతో మాట్లాడుతూ ఉంటే బికాస్ హీ imposed on doing hard work with dedication and worship భావంతో పనిచేసే వాళ్ళంటే ఆయనకి చాలా ఇష్టం. అండ్ అంటే అండ్ ఈగోలెస్ గా చేసే వాళ్ళంటే ఇంకా హీ గివ్స్ హిస్ హార్ట్ అవే అనమాట. అఫ్కోర్స్ హీ వాజ్ లవింగ్ అండ్ గ్రేస్ఫుల్ దేర్ ఆల్వేస్ ఫర్ ఎవ్రీబడి బట్ హిస్ హార్ట్ వెంట్ అవుట్ టు దోస్ who lived the way he wanted them to live. So you are one of them and we feel so proud of you. So nuvvu cheppamma like how you began your journey with Nannagaru and how you know like over the years your relationship grew and how it helped you in your life and how it increased your connection with Nana. Yeah, cheppamma.
Yeah, cheppalage. Thank you Usha for your kind words. I don't know if I'm worthy of that much praise, but again Nannagaru always made ఎవరిని కూడా ఆయన మేమే గొప్ప అనుకునే వాళ్ళలాగా మాట్లాడేటప్పుడు మనతో మాట్లాడేటప్పుడు మనం ఒక్కళ్ళమే ఉన్నాము ఆయన ముందర అనేటట్టు మాట్లాడేవాళ్ళు అప్పుడు.
అవును. సో అవును.
Yeah. So I used to definitely feel special in the beginning days because of how much attention and affection he showered on me when I started to visit him. So going back, since manam Nannagaru gurinchi maatladutunnam kabatti I will start to let you know how I met Nannagaru. మా తమ్ముడు, మా చిన్న తమ్ముడు పవన్ was going through some tough medical issues at that time. My mother was going to all kinds of places to get him because of medical issues valla chronicity అయిపోయినప్పటికే 6 months అయింది, answers లేవు. So she was going to every temple, every place. I remember that. And during that process నాన్నగారిది ఒక మీటింగ్ అయింది ఇక్కడ హైదరాబాద్ లో. వెళ్ళారు అమ్మ. వెళ్ళినప్పుడు she was so affected by him. Immediately next time when he came, she took my brother and with her వెళ్ళి చూపిస్తే he brought Pavan closer, and Pavan's problem was something abdominal pain related, without going into the details. So he rubbed his abdomen and made him sit next to him and talk to him. Dan tarvata oka 2-3 months lo it was some idiopathic issue, ante nobody could find out why he got it. But after 1 or 2 months he was relieved of that discomfort. I think next time my mother kept on bugging me to visit Nannagaru. So by nature, like I said, I'm not worth of all this kind words that you told me, but by nature I was very paranoid about gurus, or at that time, with all the god men or everybody my mother was visiting, and she would make us go to them, and it was like a ongoing thing in our house. I think I was naturally a little averse to it. I wouldn't say anything because my mother and father both are very faithful folks, so I would not say anything. But I also was not mature enough to understand that each guru is different. So I had a generalized idea of what they would ask me to do, or what they would expect me to do. I think first time వెళ్ళినప్పుడు I was very surprised, ఎందుకంటే నాన్నగారు ఎక్కడ జిన్నూర్కి వెళ్ళామన్నమాట. జిన్నూర్కి మా అమ్మ తీసుకెళ్ళింది, against my wishes and against my saying that I don't want to go, and she kept both mom and dad took me there. అయితే అక్కడికి వెళ్ళిన తర్వాత I was all the way through I was saying I would be miserable there, climate బాలేదు, hotel బాలేదు, నేను అక్కడికి ఏం మాట్లాడాలి నేను, ఇట్లా అంతా I was like very upset that they were making me go. సో అక్కడికి వెళ్ళిన తర్వాత హోటల్లో వి చెక్డ్ ఇన్, హోటల్లో ఇనిషియల్లీ వి చెక్డ్ ఇన్. వెళ్ళగానే ఆ ట్రైన్ జర్నీ అయిపోగానే ఇట్ వాజ్ ద హోల్ లైక్, అంటే దిస్ సీమ్స్ కైండ్ చీజీ, but the whole climate very changed completely to some kind pleasant. Of like a little drizzle, very pleasant. And the hotel room lo there was AC, and I was very surprised. Suddenly I was like, oh, ee chinna place lo there is like so much of comfortable room and all that. But even anyway, that is so I kind of like wow ani anukunnanu. Aithe tarvata నాన్నగారిని చూడడానికి వెళ్ళినప్పుడు మేము ముందరికి వెళ్ళాం. నాన్నగారు ముందర ఒక ఇంటి ముందర ఒక హౌస్ ఉండేది, ఐ ఫర్గెట్ వాట్, వాళ్ళ ఇంట్లో రామారావు గారు ఎగ్జాక్ట్లీ. సో we stayed at his place and we were waiting for Nannagaru to finish his daily things in the morning and come and sit in the arugu, which is what he was doing usually, right? Aithe akkadiki ellin tarvata nenu I just I remember entering the door and seeing him. Sorry, I didn't realize this, but looks like sometimes I will be overcome with emotion.
Oh yes, I mean that's welcome also, no? Like, isn't it very natural and realistic to feel overwhelmed by the first look of Guru and the affection he showered on us It happens to me also quite often, Padma.
Yeah. So I enter Avagane, and he was like so. He was very kind and asked me almost questions non-stop for an hour. And we were sitting next to him with probably another 15 people or 20 people, and the number kept going up as the afternoon went by. And he just kept asking about what I'm doing and where I am, and complete attention to, felt like it was complete attention to one person. But now I know everybody who is there probably felt the same way, but surprised because I had seen other godmen or gurus. Everybody that I saw till then had some kind of rules, or a way you had to dress, or a way you had to approach them, or there were disciples and they were not immediately accessible. You had to stand in front of them with bowed hands, and they would, if you are lucky, look at you. I mean, I know now that those gurus and the gurus that do that also have some merit, and that is okay. But in my age, at that young age, I did not see that as right at that point. Like I didn't understand why I had to stand there with my bowed hands, and so at that age I was. కానీ this ఇక్కడికి వచ్చిన తర్వాత నాన్నగారు was so different, and I kept watching his interactions with everybody who came to visit him, or to, it seemed like it was more than a guru or like in a religious guru track lo kaakunda, it was more like a counseling session for everyone that came.
Yes. It was like therapy,
right? It was like a therapy publicly in front of everyone, so all the other people can also learn from the
correct
that is
it was like I mean ante god digite alaga open therapy anamata for everyone.
Correct.
And without the other knowing your problem, but he sees it directly.
Exactly. So and it was constant, and he was not showing any tiredness, or not talking to people, or not ignoring them, or it was like an antithesis of a guru that on a regular basis, or a definition of, or what you see on TVs, or whenever you go to see other swamijis or gurus or whoever spiritual leaders that right. So it was such a different experience of Nannagaru. I was not sure if he was a guru then. It's like maybe my mother is
guru kaademo,
my mother is
feel avutunnaru
guru enti ade. I said is it somebody, I remember asking her, is it somebody you know, or is it your guru, like
because ila guru nu ippudu చూడలేదు ఏదో ఒక
నేను ఇప్పటి వరకు చూడలేదు.
ఎక్కడ సెక్యూరిటీ ఉంటుంది
వాళ్ళు డైరెక్ట్ గా ఎవరితోని మాట్లాడరు, అదర్ దాన్ త్రూ సెకండ్ హ్యాండ్, త్రూ అదర్ పీపుల్, అండ్ దేర్ ఈస్ అ హైరార్కీ ఇన్ హౌ దే సీ పీపుల్. ఈవెన్ స్పిరిచువల్లీ, ఇఫ్ దెర్ ఈస్ సంబడి స్పిరిచువల్లీ హై, దే విల్ ప్రాబబ్లీ సీ దెమ్ ఫస్ట్, అలా అన్నమాట. That's the impression that I got in the beginning.
Padma, sorry to interrupt here. So true that Nannagaru laga ante nijanga kudara nuvu you can distinguish between a completely realized master and a normal guru by their simplicity.
Correct. Yeah.
Ante most simple, natural, most loving, most available, and available to all without any priorities.
Right. Yeah. And it really blew me away that he didn't ask. There was no hierarchy involved. There was no money involved. There was no rules involved.
Correct.
There was no involvement of any transaction whatsoever.
No
like no business whatsoever. అంటే మేము ఇది అడిగితే మీకు చెప్తాము బికాజ్ అంటే there was, and not just for us. I noticed maybe we are important because somehow my mother is I don't know, maybe my parents are important, and that's why his ala akkadiki ellin tarvata I noticed everybody is coming through, and and he's interrupting and talking to them, and again interrupting and talking to somebody else, and they are interrupting him constantly. That was just a very new experience for me as far as experience of a guru is concerned, that I had so far noticed, and that kind of broke down my walls of my paranoia about Godman or Guru. That I was so against following without without knowing or without understanding what they were telling me. I did not want to follow someone at that age. I mean, now I know that there could be blind faith, and that might lead you to a good place. My young age, I didn't want to, and I was very against, and I did not want to, and this kind of broke away my wall. Like, he just treated everybody as a human being, the basic decency, and then more than decency, like love, as though he knows you, and there was no transaction, and there was no reason for him to show that love other than for love's sake.
Wow!
Like, we are not.
You have
other than
it so beautifully well, Padma. We're so touched by your expression. It broke your walls. Is so. I mean, like, that's the right apt words which somehow we've never used. We really broke our walls in his presence. I mean, it happened.
Correct.
Walls dissolve అయిపోయినాయి. అవునమ్మా.
అవును. So it was only a beginning. And my association was, I don't know if I'm remembering now, he is my formal guru also, because he gave me the mantram in my ear also at that time of my visiting, because that was the whole idea of why I went there with my parents, because they wanted me to be indoctrinated by him, because of how much they loved him and they believed in him. So at that point I really was taken away by how he would treat people, and I had even not even seen guru, not just a guru, and I had not seen any people treat other people like that by that time. And other than transaction kaadu kani, like relationship love, like mother father, they of course will treat you well. Atla anamata, I have never seen that before by that time. And I was just taken aback by that. So I have to credit him for breaking the mental walls that I had put, maybe because of my samskarams or vasanas or previous experiences in another life or this life or whatever mentally that existed that I didn't even know, but they were just there, and making me not seek anybody's advice, because I thought that is not the right thing to do. But that was very. So that's how my association, or that's how I knew him first. And then immediately afterwards, after a few months or so, I got married. And
అప్పటికి you finished your medicine and you have come to US, Padma? Like
లేదు లేదు
ఇండియాలో
ఇండియాలో మెడిసిన్ అయిపోయింది. ఐ వాజ్ ఇన్ ద మిడిల్ ఆఫ్ డిసైడింగ్ వాట్ టు డూ అండ్ మేబీ I was my parents were looking to
for a match,
see if I would get a match. I don't remember the exact details, but I didn't go to US by then, the very first time I visited. Tarvata I got married and then I didn't lose touch, but I thought, wow, this is so amazing. Then I just kind of remembered it, but it ended up so that we did not go back for a while. Amma guda it was a new thing for her, and she was not there all the time like she was in her later years. So she always used to put remember Nannagaru and all that, but she didn't travel that much adantappudu. I don't know, I don't remember the details why, but then I got married, and the first time I came back was again another time that we all three went again. So it started like that, and every time we came back we went, and every time we went, this time along with my husband Venu. And Venu toni start ayindi. He started asking Venu questions, and Venu has like some definitely a humor bone in him, so he always used to chat with him more, and they used to laugh a lot. And another thing I have to say is, whenever we went, first time kuda Nannagaru కూర్చొని భోంచేసేటప్పుడు I remember him making me sit along with him on the same dining table in the small kitchen in his house in the back. And everybody around him was so like, I don't know what they were telling me not to sit, but I didn't understand.
No, when Nannagaru wants you to be beside him, it doesn't matter what anybody else wants you to do or not do.
So they were just like standing in the corner at Lanmata. I remember with how much love he ammagariki chepparu, ee kura veyi, idi veyi, and you should eat what kind of food do you like, how do you cook there. I remember the first time I went, he was like all asking me about stuff in US, and after a while it felt like just like going to your dad's place. Like that's how that visit felt like. And Nannagaru kakunda Ammagaru kuda, it was so much of love, like I felt like overwhelmed by it, like and then again I was thinking, who does this? Like, why are they calling him guru? Like like ఎవరు నేను చేసేటప్పుడు చూడలేదు ఇట్లా భోజనం పెట్టడం, తర్వాత పర్సనల్లీ అన్ని డీటెయిల్స్ అడగడం, అండ్ అడ్వైస్ ఇవ్వడం, తర్వాత and he sent a car to receive us to the railway station, and I thought, wow, I was just blown away with every visit that I went, really, till I got to know him more. I was just ante entidi itla car evarana చూడడానికి గురువు గారిని చూడడానికి వస్తే వాళ్ళ కార్ it is such
Padma, this is what makes us wonderstruck, that
there is nothing like that
భగవంతుణ్ణి భక్తుడు రిసీవ్ చేసుకున్నట్టు, లేకపోతే ఒక మహా పెద్ద గురువుని శిష్యులు రిసీవ్ చేసుకున్నట్టు, ఒక గురువు సామాన్య మానవుల్ని, అంటే భక్తి కూడా లేని మానవుల్ని, సామాన్య మానవుల్ని, వాళ్ళ అంటే ఇన్నర్ గా వాళ్ళ మైండ్ అంటే జీవ లక్షణాలు పెట్టుకుని మైండ్ పొల్యూటెడ్ గా ఉన్నా కూడా వాళ్ళని చాలా అపురూపంగా చూసుకుని వాళ్ళంత ప్రేమించి, హూ క్యాన్ డూ దట్? అసలు అలా విడిగా మనం లాజికల్ గా ఆలోచించినా కూడా forget about spirituality and the spiritual life, poni so called guru or sishyudu ala pakkan pettina kuda, just ante as a third person nu dini chusina kuda, this is something that I mean ante prapancham చూడనిది ఇలాంటిది.
అవును, ఎప్పుడు నాకైతే I never experienced it with any other person that I didn't have already a relationship with. Like mother, father, kids. These are the only these, and there is a reason why you experience it, and this true. Love is like beyond that transaction love, and there is no reason,
unconditional and divine.
Correct. And anni ante it's not just in words, like how he treated people showed in what it is, and it was not just in words, it was not just like how he talked to people with ante chala maryadaga, like guru శిష్యుని ప్రబోధి గురు శిష్యుని పిలిచినట్టు అలా మర్యాద కోసం కాదు, ప్రేమ అంటే the actions showed themselves. How much the actions were louder than his words, right? The actions were louder. Correct. And every single detail I remember now. I'm going to fast forward to ante sequence lo vellalante so India ikkadi nunchi vellipoyin tarvata kuda I was going through my residency, and obviously at that time I thought I was not able to handle it very well. First year I was struggling because of how difficult it is, and I didn't anticipate it. Aithe appudu he gave me his personal number, and I don't know if everybody remembers this, but when nen phone chesinappudu he picked up the phone all these times. I don't know if that changed. I think it changed later. Kani a few years, 3-4 years maybe, while I was in residency, whenever I wanted to call, I would call. It was such a, now I look back and ippudu telisindi teluste maybe I would hesitate to call, ante just to talk, నాకు ఏదన్నా కష్టం ఉన్నా లేకపోతే కష్టం ఉన్నట్టు అనిపించినా I just would pick up the phone and call him, and Nannagaru would either Nannagaru anna Nannagaru పక్కనుండే రామరాజు గారు ఎవరో ఒకళ్ళు పికప్ చేసేవాళ్ళు డైరెక్ట్ గా, ఆయనే మాట్లాడేవారు డైరెక్ట్ గా. అపాయింట్మెంట్ లేదు, ఏమీ లేదు, ఇట్లా జస్ట్ ఫోన్ చేసి మాట్లాడేవారు. మాట్లాడేటప్పుడు he would tell you should read every day. It won't be difficult for you to do residency if you keep the patient in mind how much they are suffering, how much they are looking for you to relieve them of their suffering. And he said emanarante the point is not just in a scientific way to diagnose the disease, but also to take away the person's fear and their anxiety, or like I'm just so and he didn't give this advice in one single line. It was such a detailed discussion. I don't
over the phone.
Because I said it's difficult for me to go into continue this. Actually at one point I said this is very hard. Venu also was in a different city at that time. I matched in a program where Venu's job was different in a different city, so everything was new coming to this country, and obviously learning curve was steep. With me staying by myself and going into residency and all that, and everybody else who came also probably did that, but for me like the me in me said I'm suffering. So I just wanted to download it on someone else. I remembered it gave me the freedom to call him because of how much love he showed me. Otherwise, it was unlike for me to call somebody that I did not know to tell these details. It was very unlike of me to talk to people about stuff that I was going through. So Kani, I'm still surprised as to how many times I picked up the phone and told him that I cannot finish this. And that discussions went over a period of time as to when he told me what it means to be, like how to see this, like actually reframing it, like such a practical advice to reframe it so that you take attention away from your point of view to what you are there to learn or what you are there to do for somebody else, or not just for somebody else, but what is the whole, and to see it neutrally and one step above, to see it in a compassionate or empathetic sense, and which will take away the attention from this ego me completely, and then it will become easier to do what you are there to do. That is the gist I got over the few phone calls that I made. And not just then, and that was in the initial time after my residency, when I was initially like just new with my kids. My older one's name is Divya and my younger one's name is Shilpa. So I don't remember anything much with Divya other than bringing her here and visiting him and Nannagaru blessing her and all that stuff. Then Shilpa Pudu, I went through a tough pregnancy. And again, I did the same thing. I used to pick up the phone and call him. It's like I don't remember anybody that I ever
thought you can just freely call and open up all your problems to.
And I knew I could not call my mother because she would get worried or afraid. So it was just like, I remember, because I'm talking to you, I'm remembering how many times I called him, went over the medical details and told him, like, I keep on worrying about this and all this, I don't know how she will be born or what. I just, everything is getting preoccupied in my mind as to this whole pregnancy, and I don't know, I'm not able to live with it, is what I was thinking. But I just told him all of that, and I don't remember all the details, but they were very practical advice. And eppudu kuda he never once said just sit and pray to God.
This is the beauty.
He never
beauty. Sorry to interrupt you here. ఎప్పుడు కూడా నువ్వు ప్రార్థన చెయ్యి, నువ్వు ఇలా చెయ్యి అలా చెయ్యి అని కాదు, డైరెక్ట్ గా నీ ప్రాబ్లం కి సొల్యూషన్ అనే మాటలతో ఇచ్చేసేవారా.
అదే or at least he
practical. Yes, tell me.
Correct. And the whole idea why I called, he would listen and say just and then of course madhya madhyalo cheppevallu, Ramanadi book chaduvu, read the Talks to Ramana Maharshi book, and he gave me another. Whenever I used to visit him, I would go back with 2 or 3 books and I would faithfully read them. So throughout this time of 6 years or so, from the time I met him first through my marriage and both kids, I was so close to him. And it didn't even matter that I was not in the spiritual subject yet.
అసలు స్పిరిచువాలిటీ తీసుకొచ్చేవారు కాదురా పద్మ, ఎవరి దగ్గర కూడా. యూ పద్మ, see how many really came to Nannagaru for spirituality, honestly speaking. అంటే ఆయన ఆప్యాయత కోసం, ఆయన ప్రేమ కోసం, ఆయన రిసీవింగ్ కోసం, ఆయన దగ్గర వచ్చే పీస్ కోసం తప్ప we did not have this initial ga nenu anedi. Yes, later on with time things changed anko. So
right,
nuvannattu he treated everybody as humans and gave them the best in the most authentic way, attention,
authentic presence. He gave them, I think, his presence, which is very difficult in a society like ours at that time to get, because people were always thinking
and we are stuck, I remember in mind kada Padma,
you are stuck in the mind,
and preformed notions, preformed opinions, our past or mana conditioning, nuvannattu the walls we have built around ourselves, ivanni kuda we can't open ga, we can't see him as he is, but he made his presence so profound that even అంటే ఏమీ లేని వాళ్ళకి కూడా నువ్వని కాదురా, like all of us that have come, he made us realize that there is something beyond all this rubbish.
Right, exactly.
And that presence meant a lot. Cheppamma.
It was the presence that was very powerful. Of course, and I didn't realize it at that time, the name to give it, kani it was definitely his presence that was so attractive. The vibe that he had around him, and the silence of your mind when you are sitting in his presence.
Correct.
And
which చాలా సహజంగా జరుగుతుంది. మనం ఏదో ప్రయత్నంతో మెడిటేషన్ తో అందరూ చేసేది మనకి మామూలుగా నార్మల్ గా మనకి అంటే వెల్ విషర్స్ దగ్గరకో ఫ్రెండ్స్ దగ్గరకో వెళ్ళినట్టు వెళ్ళినా దట్ హ్యాపెన్ టు us in his presence.
Correct, exactly. So just another little ante, because we are on the subject of Nannagaru's love. After my kids were born, there is that picture of Shilpa with him after she was born.
I think that was one of the best pictures of Nannagaru with kids.
Right.
I mean, there are very few rare pictures of Nannagaru with children, because all of them are beautiful,
kids,
but this was really special.
Right, she was wearing some green blouse, and she had this little cyst on the side of her nose, which I was worried about that after her birth. And తీసుకొచ్చినప్పుడు దానికి 6 months ఎంత ఉండింది. అండ్ వెన్ నాన్నగారు ఇంటికి వచ్చారు, అప్పుడు నేను వెళ్ళలేదు, నాన్నగారు ఇక్కడికే వచ్చారు. వచ్చినప్పుడు ఎత్తుకొని he showed such love to Shilpa. That's why you see Shilpa smiling so much in that picture, because it was such, I think, unadulterated love that she felt, because babies, like, they feel it and they reciprocate. So she was also reciprocating, although he was a stranger to her physically.
And maybe that was,
so it was very beautiful.
The most special picture, Padma.
I know. మా ఫాదర్ అయితే దాన్ని ఇంత పెద్దగా ఫ్రేమ్ చేసి ఫస్ట్ రూమ్ లో పెట్టారు, మా డ్రాయింగ్ రూమ్ లో. And I again, this sounds cheesy, because my mind always is like, pick up the cheesy things and throw them aside, but I have to say it. After that, like within 3 months, that big cyst by the nose was gone at that time. And my mind was completely like cleared of all that baggage that came with. I don't know what I was thinking, like it will go into some it will affect her appearance, and I don't know, I was a new mother, and it was very traumatic again. It was my drama in my mind, kani it felt very traumatic. And he just made it like every time and that made me like go to him for everything, and I noticed everybody else around me was doing the same thing. So anyway, and so validdaru, I came back another time with both of them, and that was the first time I went to Jinnur with both Divya, Shilpa and Venu. All 4 of us were there. మళ్ళీ మేము ఆల్ ఫ్యామిలీ ఆ ఇంటి ముందు అదే రామరాజు గారి ఇంట్లో మీద ఉన్నాం అన్నమాట. అయితే I was
okay
Ramarao గారి ఇంటి పైన వీళ్ళు and I was so preoccupied with the kids and diaper change and all that నాన్నగారు కూర్చుంటారని మర్చిపోయా నేను అక్కడ పొద్దున యూజువల్ గా మా మదర్ ఉంటే she would
remind
hurry all of us along to go sit there on time because I was so overwhelmed with the kid duties or kid stuff. I could not get there on time and he was like right in the door. We were getting ready and he was right in the door. He walked over.
ఆయన వచ్చేసారు
ఆయన మీటికి ఇంట్లోకి వచ్చేసారు పైకి వచ్చేసారు అక్కడ కూర్చో
రామారావు గారి ఇంటి అక్కడికి వచ్చేసారు ఆయన
అక్కడికి వచ్చేసారు వచ్చేసి వాళ్ళ ఇంటి రూమ్ లో అక్కడ వాళ్ళ ఇంట్లో 3 rooms ఉన్నాయి అయితే ఆ రూమ్ లో కూర్చున్నారు కూర్చొని then he looked at the kids and he asked what their how are they doing cyst పోయింది దీంది అని అన్నారు అంతా అని మళ్ళీ he said then I got them ready like to go visit him and అన్నిట్లా ఒక గోల్డ్ చైన్ అట్లా ఉంది గోల్డ్ చైన్ వేయద్దమ్మా ఇక్కడ సేఫ్ కాదు గోల్డ్ చైన్స్ తీసేసి వాళ్ళకి గోల్డ్ చైన్ ఇక్కడ ఎవరంటే వాళ్ళు తీయడానికి ట్రై చేస్తారు and I was just like appudu anpivaledu gaani aa roju raatri I was just like what just happened this is like nothing he came over and again I just kept thinking like who does that
steps kuda chinnaga untayi avi it's a narrow stairway
avunu and he was very able at that time I remember Nannagaru got sick in the last 3-4 years ago.
Yes, correct.
But before that, he would go everywhere. Everywhere. He would try to do. I mean, physically, I think he would try to do everything. Yes, and he correct. So he just showed up at the door, and we were just so overwhelmed, and like it was very. Overwhelming to see that he just walked over there and sat there and talked to me and Venu and asked about them and advised all this and I was just so grateful for that experience. I didn't realize at that time how big that was, but when I was writing for something else I remembered it and I thought that was just something and I never seen anybody do that either again for the first time. అంటే ఎవ్వరు అంత ఇంట్రెస్ట్ తీసుకొని ఎవ్వరు
I mean అదే అంత అన్కండిషనల్ లవ్ ఎవరికి ఉంటుంది అసలు
ఎవరికి ఉంటుంది leave guru alone guru is there but I always had in my mind that it is for you go and pay your respects and if you are lucky he will bless you which is great at the most. I didn't know the details of how that grace looked like.
I know
so it was very
I know oh my god so
I had Padma I know so few experiences like that with him even bonded me closer in my mind. Unfortunately I was not here so I just had to keep calling after a while. I think he became very I don't remember why but he became very busy with all the meetings and all that and maybe I was not in a state to always call him and then I started to get the gravity of how big he is and that stopped me from calling for every little thing so I was also probably maturing in my mind that I shouldn't be calling for these things so I have to say I also have to credit Nannagaru with introducing the subject to me. I had never heard the subject before from the very beginning again although I didn't understand at one meeting, I remember in Hyderabad lono ikkado nen vellinappudu, he said, listen to the words that you say sometimes. He said, listen to what you say. You say, I am angry, I am you just cannot stop your anger or suffering or whatever, and you know it that you are angry. So you are not the person that is angry, you are not the entity that is angry. And that was the first time I noticed that yes, I'm not the person that is angry, or I'm not the person that is thinking bad about someone else. Not the person, we all, ante not you, but all the people think bad or think something, there are many thoughts, not qualifying
negative,
them as good or bad. There is varied amount of thoughts, and the identifying with the thought is such a fast process. I didn't realize it till I realized it that day, that the thought is so fast that I'm always identified with the thought. And then that gave me interest into the subject, and then I started reading books. Like I said, every time I would come, he would give me 2 or 3 books, and I would try to read them every day. And whenever I called, he would say, are you reading? Ramakrishna Gurtundi, Ramakrishna di chadivava, Ramana Maharshi di chadivava అని అడిగేవారు. And he would discuss that whenever we went to Jinnur in the thing, he would bring it up and say what Ramakrishna Paramahamsa said. And so I remember later on the subject like slowly coming in, and I also was slowly like drawn towards it. But it was definitely Nannagaru valle knowledge, thought identification తెలిసింది నాకు. నాన్నగారు చెప్పకుంటే తెలిసే and till then I sometimes see people, and sometimes see people ante you tell this to another person, 50% of the time they won't know what you are talking about.
Correct.
Theoretically also.
Yes.
So I think I'm not generalizing,
Padma ఇక్కడ ఏం జరిగి ఉంటుందంటే, అంటే లైక్ మోస్ట్ ఆఫ్ అస్, అంటే అందరు ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ కాబట్టి ఇది, ఆయన మనల్ని చేర తీసి ఆయన పట్ల మనకి నమ్మకం కుదిరించి ఆయన పట్ల అంటే ఆ లవ్ కి రెస్పాన్స్ వాజ్ అవర్ ఎర్నింగ్ ఫర్ హిమ్ మోర్ అండ్ మోర్. అండ్ అంటే హీ ప్రిపేర్ ద బేస్ ఇన్ అవర్ హార్ట్ ఫర్ రిసీవింగ్ ఆఫ్ ది సబ్జెక్ట్ బిఫోర్ హీ కుడ్ రియలీ ఇంపార్ట్ ఇట్ టు అస్.
రైట్.
అంటే ఏ వస్తువు అయితే అదే కొంతమంది చెప్పారో దాని పట్ల ప్రేమ గౌరవం లేకుండా మనం ఆ డైరెక్షన్ లో ప్రయాణం చేయలేమంటారు పద్మ.
అవును.
సో ఆ డైరెక్షన్ లో ప్రయాణం చేయడానికి మనల్ని ప్రిపేర్ చేసి దెన్ విత్ హిస్ గ్రేస్ హీ ఇంపార్టెడ్ సబ్జెక్ట్ టు అస్ అండ్ మేడ్ అస్ అండర్స్టాండ్ ఇట్. లేకపోతే నువ్వు అన్నట్టు ఏదో థియరీ చదివితేనో ఎవరో చెప్తేనో మనకి ఆ థాట్ సెపరేట్ గా చూడడము, థాట్ మనం కాదు, అనవసరంగా దీంతో తాదాప్యం పొందుతున్నాము అనేది గుర్తింపు రాదు వితౌట్ గ్రేస్.
కరెక్ట్. అండ్ that one thing of thought identification has such a practical implication in life. It doesn't even have to be spiritual. Actually it is maybe I won't call it spiritual. It is the essence of freedom, is freedom from thought identification. And when he says it is right here, that is what is right here, because you can always every second disengage from your thought and then you are
and be that
be that already. So and he knowledge he did impart in several ways, several times before it became understood by me. And several times, I don't remember how many times, but it was there in every meeting, it was there in every chat personally with him, it was there in everything. And he indirectly or indirectly he was indicating that every single time. Constantly he was always, I remember our conversations, and he was always indicating it. And once the subject discussion came, he was overtly talking about it. Mundara subject introduction lekante mundu, it was just all, just showing love and affection and all that. But after the introduction of subject, it was always reminding that you are always free. You are free to be free. Every second. I remember him saying, you are free to be choosing freedom every second by disengaging from the thought, mind. And that vasanalu anta fast ga, they won't let you disengage, and that is why the sadhana, not to attain something new. I remember London lo he said, not something new, because something new that is not there cannot be obtained. It should be already here for it to be direct. Because it is already here, all your sadhana is to remove what unlearning, or not unlearning what you have learned, the false knowledge that you have learned, that you are the thought. And I can't tell you how many times he had said that. And London retreat lo, that was all he said, really, all the time in different.
So you were there at retreat, London retreat 10 రోజులు you were there kadara Padma, like you went.
Avunu right. I was like, I visited from, my mother was accompanying Nannagaru as his help cheyadaniki edanna kavali language.
London only మీ మదర్ ని మన నర్సాపురం డాక్టర్ గారు, పిల్లల డాక్టర్, లైక్ పీడియాట్రిషియన్
ఆయన కూడా నాకు చాలా గుర్తున్నారు. he also was very వాళ్ళిద్దరూ I remember మెరియం ఆర్ మేరీ అనే వాళ్ళ అపార్ట్మెంట్ లో ఉండేవాళ్ళు లండన్ లోపల. వాళ్ళిద్దరు they Ramana Society or whatever hosted him there in her house. So we went there to meet them or to attend meetings for a few days.
You went
the introductory we went from US because we thought we'll visit Amma and Nannagaru at the same time. So akkada Ramanashramam, the head of Ramanashramam, his name is Alan Jacobs.
Alan Jacobs.
He was a very older gentleman, very nice and very has a peaceful vibe about him.
Very deep Ramana devotee.
He arranged the trip, I think, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
He must have. He had something in arranging the trip. So he arranged it in a church basement. And అయితే అక్కడ ఆ రోజు I'm just going into the London trip now, so since the flow is towards the London trip, so London trip lopala there were like 90 to 120 people in the church the first day. And we went there, and Nannagaru, itla first 15 minutes Nannagaru just saw them. And these silence, were not
complete
complete silence. And this is their first experience probably for some of the Westerners, because others looked like they knew him from before. Some people knew him from before, and there were all kinds of people in the audience. There were people that dressed up as gopis and came, and I don't know what they were expecting from the meeting, but they were dressed up like they were gopika laga annitla oni tarvata jewelry anta pettukoni krishnudi feathers anni pettukoni vacharu kondaru. I don't know what their expectation was, but they were there.
Probably they were expecting Lord Krishna.
All kinds of people in the spiritual world were there, and all kinds of people at different levels. There were
it's
people
a different
who were there were people there to question him and criticize him. There were people there to there were people like these gopis, all kinds of people. And then there were people that knew him and knew his value, and they were there to just imbibe the silence that he provided. And there were also people like us who were accompanying him. We had a lot of devotion and respect, but we were probably not close to how some other people were there. There were other people obviously at a very high level of silence, and it looked like it anyway. We don't know them personally, but it looked like it. So Dantlo, that was the first experience for probably at least half of them as to what the silence can do to the mind. So the whole hall was just silent for 15-20 minutes. Hello?
Yeah, Padma, Ventuda.
And they just they were just silent, and then they started asking. Nannagaru gave a kind of like an introductory lecture, and I was trying to research it for this our talk, and I found that my brother actually he wrote down what Nannagaru said.
Okay.
I never knew that he wrote it down, and it is in a PDF format. And maybe I can send you the. I found it on the web. So because I was trying to remember the London trip details, I just wanted to remember, like if there was something that I'm forgetting, so I looked it up. And my brother looks like wrote a itla minutes of the meeting laga anamata. He documented and everything from Nannagaru spoke in English, and he documented that speech, and I will send you a link, and maybe you can put a link in your notes or something when you
in his website.
I say our link his website or the mana conversation pettinappudu.
Sure.
So I read the gist of it was he directly went into the subject. This of false I and who am I, the thought disidentification, and I could see that people were affected so much by that talk, because I met some people afterwards, and there was this one person called Shane, I forget, Shane or Sean. He is a lawyer in London, and he told me that while Nannagaru maatladetappudu atanki itla he felt his head crown like open up like a lotus and kept opening up like a lotus. I didn't understand it at that time, but I remember people even now I remember people telling me 3 or 4 things like that during that retreat.
What was it? Can you repeat it?
It was like this guy was a lawyer. He said he came there, and he said while Nannagaru chusetappudu maatladetappudu he felt such silence, but also he said his crown and the head crown. He felt like Sahasrara. Right. He felt like it was just like so light and so opening up and so light, and he said it is just unbelievable, and it is so. And I remember people talking to each other in that retreat many times, and the silence was there for 8 hours. Sometimes he would just sit there.
Oh my God.
And I was definitely not at a place to sit silent for 8 hours or 6 hours or 4 hours like that. So I remember I was one of the only ones, along with my brother and maybe even Venu, to get up and walk out. I could not sit there.
Sit for longer.
Yeah. And these people were all just sitting for so long. And I might get this wrong, but Nannagaru Iddar Muggurni, he was always looking at them. One was from Australia, I forget. He said, he told me that he knows him from another time. That's all he said. He knows him from another time. Ever some Australian. So he said, I know him from another time. And he would just look at me like I understood, but I did not. And I remember those conversations in London with 3 or 4 people like that, with experiences similar. And that gave me a new perspective of how other people might be seeing him. Because every time I saw him, it was just my parents and me and affection, and it was just all like, you know.
This is something much more profound. This is something more profound. Where
this is very profound So people there knew his.
He connected to every level of people, Ra. I mean, because he was the ultimate. అందుకు ట్రూత్ సీకర్స్ ట్రూత్ కోసం ప్రయత్నం చేసే వాళ్ళకి ఇట్ వాజ్ లైక్ ఐ మీన్ ఇన్స్టంటేనియస్ క్యాచింగ్ అప్ ఫైర్ కదా.
కరెక్ట్.
లోపల జ్ఞానం క్విక్గా వాళ్ళు రిసెప్టివ్ బికాస్ హీ వాజ్ ది పవర్ హౌస్ కదా.
రైట్.
అండ్ అంటే ప్రయత్నం అంటే లైక్ ఈవెన్ ఐ సీన్ మెనీ ఫారినర్స్ హూ బీన్ అంటే ఏజెస్ దే బీన్ ట్రయింగ్ టు గెట్ దట్ సైలెంట్ స్టేట్. అండ్ ఆబ్స్టికల్స్ ఉంటాయి, లైక్ ఇట్స్ అంటే పాపం వాళ్ళు ఎఫర్ట్ చేస్తూ ఉంటారు కదా పద్మ. సో వెన్ గోయింగ్ టు ది ప్రెజెన్స్ ఆఫ్ గురు ఇట్స్ స్పాంటేనియస్ గా వస్తుంది. అది వచ్చింది దే కెన్ కంటిన్యూ టు బి బికాస్ దే ఆర్ ఆల్రెడీ ప్రిపేర్డ్ ఫర్ ఇట్.
Right. I feel and there was a couple of funny incidents, or many funny incidents once that retreat was over. ఆవిడ ఎవరింట్లో అయితే ఉండేవాళ్ళు ఆవిడ కొంచెం she was not very used to these kind of things, so she would give amma only like 2 dishes to cook everything in, only 2 dishes.
పాపం she had a real tough time. అదేదో సాధన చేయించుకుంటూ తీసుకెళ్లారు.
సో ఎప్పుడు అయితే నాన్నగారు ఆమె దగ్గరకు వచ్చి అమ్మ వంట వండేటప్పుడు అప్పుడు దగ్గరకు వచ్చేవాళ్ళు, వచ్చి ఇది ఏమంటుంది ఇవ్వనంటుందా ఇంకోటి అనేవాళ్ళు. ఆవిడకి తెలుగు రాదు కదా, ఏమంటుంది అది ఇవ్వనంటుందా, వేరే గిన్నెలు ఇవ్వనంటుందా.
నాన్నగారు అడిగారా?
నాన్నగారు అడిగారు. ఒకసారి we also went to we went to the supermarket in London on a stone's throw distance from her house, and we looked into the supermarket and he was examining all the groceries and how they were packaged and how neat it is. avanni cheppevalu. He had a lot of attention for detail for everything. Nothing would escape his notice, like what is different, and he would like kind of say it again and again that it impressed him, or there were many things that he would keep chatting. And then whenever there is a retreat or he went into this silence mode, it was a completely different ఇది వాళ్ళేదో ఒకసారి ఎప్పుడో చెప్పారు, బెండకాయలో నీళ్ళేసి తీసుకొచ్చారు వాళ్ళు ఒకసారి బాయిల్ చేసి. ఎవరో వాళ్ళకి చెప్పారంట నాన్నగారికి బెండకాయ కూర ఇష్టం అని. సో వాళ్ళు ఏదో వేరేలాగా చేసి తీసుకొచ్చారంట అక్కడి కూర పద్ధతిలో. వాళ్ళ ఏదో జంబాలయ రైస్ టైప్ లో ఇట్లా అంతా బెండకాయ అంతా చిగురుగా ఉంటుంది కదా, అది ఇది ఎవరు తీసుకొచ్చారు అవును. అయితే అన్నారు నాన్నగారు, ఇది ఎందుకు తీసుకొచ్చారు, వేస్ట్ అయిపోయింది కదా, నేను తినలేను ఇది అని. అయితే తెచ్చినామండి, తినకపోతే పర్వాలేదు కానీ మేము ట్రై చేసామని మాకు హ్యాపీనెస్ ఉంటుంది కదా అని అన్నారు ఆవిడ. నాకు గుర్తుంది అది. మాకు అంటే మాకు తెలీదు ఈ కూర ఎట్లా చేయాలో, కానీ మీకు నచ్చింది మేము ట్రై చేసామని, మాకు ట్రై అన్నా చేసాం కానీ మాకు హ్యాపీనెస్ ఉంటుంది, అందుకని ఏదో అంది అట్లా. నాకు గుర్తుంది అట్లా బెండకాయ గురించి. అదే. సో I don't remember, I was trying to see what subject he did not talk much in that retreat. He was just silent except for the initial speech that he gave. Rest of the time it was all sitting with sitting in silence, and all those people who came, I think, valued silence more.
Oh yes, yeah. And also
they just
అక్కడ జరిగిన అంటే కొంత మీటింగ్స్ ఏదైతే జరిగిందో అది డాక్టర్ గారు నోట్ చేసుకుని లైక్ హీ గాట్ ఇట్ రా అండ్ వి పుట్ ఇట్ ఇన్ వెబ్సైట్ నాన్నగారి లండన్ స్పీచ్.
అవునా? ఓకే ఓకే. చర్చ్ లో స్పీచ్ ద ఇనిషియల్ ఇంట్రడక్టరీ స్పీచ్ ఎక్కడ ఉంది వెబ్ మీద. I found it, and then I noticed it was my brother who did the PDF on it. Okay. He looks like he documented it or something.
Wonderful adokati. Then I think that, and కొంత నోట్స్ ఏం తీసుకున్న 3 days రిట్రీట్ అనుకుంటా కదా పద్మాది.
3 day రిట్ అంటే ట్రిప్ అంతా 10 days, కానీ బేస్మెంట్ లో సిట్టింగ్స్ అవన్నీ 2-3 days ఉన్నాయి. తర్వాత మళ్ళీ బ్యాత్ లో రిట్రీట్ అయింది. బ్యాత్ లో అంతా దే సర్వ్డ్ వెజిటేరియన్ ఫుడ్. నాన్నగారి కుక్కకి అమ్మ కూర తర్వాత అన్నము అవన్నీ చేసి ఆయన ఫుడ్ చేసేవాళ్ళు. మిగతా వాళ్ళందరికీ వెజిటేరియన్ కంప్లీట్లీ రా వెజిటబుల్ రిట్రీట్ లాగా చేశారు. అయితే అక్కడ హీ యూస్ టు సిట్ అండ్ దెన్ అగైన్ talk a little bit during walks. He walked itla countryside laga undedi London back lo. Nadchetappudu I remember he said once, this is I never heard him say this before, but he said, imagine ante ఒకదాని కోసం ట్రై చేస్తున్నావు కదా నువ్వు, ఈ సాధన కోసం ఎప్పటి నుంచో ట్రై చేస్తున్నావు. లుక్స్ ఫీల్ ఇట్ ఈస్ సిమిలర్ టు యు కీప్ ఆన్ నాకింగ్ ఆన్ ద డోర్. హి సెడ్ కీప్ ఆన్ నాకింగ్ ఆన్ ద డోర్ because you want this thing, you want this realization, or you keep on knocking and you know what will happen. He said is door will open but you are actually on the inside. I did not hear that from him before. So that was very
Padma, this is in the Bible, knock and it shall open ani.
Kadudi knock and you shall open kad that I understood, but he said when the door opens you are on the inside, you are not knocking from the outside. You are actually on the inside. And your whole I felt like when I heard it, like it's like a new perspective of what he is trying to say,
because they are Westerners kad Padma. See, people
వాళ్ళకి చెప్పారు
Westerners, and Westerners are familiar with this biblical
thing.
Knock and it shall open అన్నది ఇన్నర్ గానే అంటే హృదయాన్ని తట్టు అది తెరవబడుతుంది.
అదే తెలిసినప్పుడు you are on the inside, then you are not knocking from the outside. You always were thinking atla, he used to walk and talk with some people, and we all used to walk with him for a few minutes in the afternoon or morning. అదొక్కటి అక్కడ చెప్పారు. దట్ వాస్ వెరీ
పద్మ. ఆ టైంలో పిక్చర్స్ ఏమైనా ఉన్నాయా మీవి నాన్నగారితో?
వేణు నిన్న పవన్ కి తెలీదు. మా ఇంట్లో ఏదన్నా నెగిటివ్స్ ఉన్నాయా అని చూడాలి.
because it will be wonderful kada to see him in the world.
Correct, yeah. Right, yeah. I will definitely try to find out if anybody has pictures at all. అమ్మ వాళ్ళని అడుగుతాను. ఐ డోంట్ థింక్ అమ్మ వాళ్ళు అప్పుడు కూడా ఇంకా అన్ని ప్రింట్ చేసేవాళ్ళు కదా పిక్చర్స్, ఫోన్స్ లేవు.
అవును,
1998 లో 1998 లో ఇది. This was in 98. Aithe so I remember that from the trip. Another thing I remember is another time, because we are on the part of the subject also, in Chinchinada vellam speech ki Nannagaru car lo nenu కూర్చున్నా అన్నమాట వెనకాల. అప్పుడు కార్ లో వెళ్ళేటప్పుడు ఈ జగము మిథ్య అది విన్నావా ఎప్పుడన్నా అంటే? అవునండి, జగత్ మిథ్య. అయితే ఈ జగం మిథ్య,
జగత్ మిథ్య,
బ్రహ్మం సత్యం. అయితే అది మొత్తం దాంతోని డూ యూ అగ్రీ అన్నారు. అంటే ఏం మాట్లాడలేదు నేను. అయితే అన్నారు జగం మిథ్యనే కానీ జగం బ్రహ్మం లాగా నిజం.
ఎగ్జాక్ట్లీ చెప్తాను. నాన్నగారు మాట ఏంటంటే బ్రహ్మం సత్యం జగత్ మిథ్య, ఇది నీకు అర్థమైందా లేకపోతే ఇది నీకు తెలుసా అని అడిగారు, అంతే కదా అని
అడిగారు.
బ్రహ్మం సత్యం జగత్ మిథ్య కానీ బ్రహ్మంగా జగత్ సత్యం.
బ్రహ్మంగా జగన్ సత్యం అది అన్నారు. అది చెప్పారు. ఐ రిమెంబర్ ఫ్యూ కాన్వర్సేషన్స్ లైక్ దట్. లైక్ ఐ సెడ్, that subject introduction and how it increased was quite a good understanding of the subject slowly, and the more you talk in his presence, it would be self evident sometimes. Aithe okkari I was busy and there is no sadhana laga, I'm not doing anything. It bothered me that everybody here is with him, and I was kind of drawn, like I was conflicted what's happening. And when I came once, I said, is this like how it is going to be with me, or it is up to me to I remember something like that, like I remember now. Said, is there ever like a fall from grace? Because I felt so like close to him and all that, and there was a time when I was extremely busy at work, at my life, at my whatever, I felt like I was not doing anything or not remembering anything. Atla adute he said, no, there is no fall from grace. That there is only this grace will follow you to the end till you lose this ego. All the way to the there will be ups and downs, and it is always you start new. Whenever you remember, you have to hold on to that and know that is always there. So in that way, he said, there is no fall from grace. So that is just a thought, that there is a fall from grace is just a thought. Because you cannot fall from something.
అది కేవలం మళ్ళీ నీ తలంపు ఆబ్స్టికల్ తప్ప, you are not actually ever falling from grace.
Ever falling, because all that is there is that. And rest of it is just
again mind
play of mind's creation. And rest of it is mind's creation. So I feel it has huge practical implications in everyday life, not to mention definitely a freedom that comes from understanding it almost with everything, as long as you remember it. And remembrance is the sadhana. Either you do it with the Nannagaru statue or Nannagaru picture or just Nannagaru words. Sometimes I feel his words are more powerful than picture brings you personally close to him.
Yes. Words
because you have a
which is
right, because you have a personal personal relationship with him, and that makes it that much more easier.
Yes.
But that sadhana is every day, is just a remembrance.
Yes.
And doesn't have to be at one place, or one
particular
how to put it, and wherever I feel, wherever you are, if you are remembering, then that is sadhana. If you remember, so you don't have to be, but if you have to go somewhere to do this, then that is what is happening, and that is what is sadhana. Then wherever you are, unless you do, if you identify with your thought, I feel then you have not fallen from grace, but you have just forgotten. And then once you remember, then your sadhana again has started.
So, it's like Suryuni mabbulu kappinattu, Padma.
Alage. Mirror and
the sun is always there. But once the clouds move, it's again visible.
Right. Mirror and dust, and all these comparisons. So it is so apt that he, I feel, to kind of wrap up the whole thing. I feel there was a personal connection, Nannagaru, that was like beyond a loving human being. Before he is a guru, he's a at most dearest person that I have ever come into contact with. And without any mind sadhana or anything, and maybe that is because he is not identified with thought or ego. It is just that universal love that he personifies, and you don't realize it till you are in the same realm, or you don't realize it till later, but you first feel his love, and that makes it easy to understand his teaching and I think all his life, without any transaction, he uplifted so many people, so many of them, and I think even to this date he does, with his
it's growing, the number is growing and growing.
It's growing, the number is growing. So the people like us who were lucky enough to personally witness him will keep that in mind always, but his teachings are there always with us to say and to refer to. And I almost, like, when his physical body passed away, and later, I still feel like he's like there, and it's not in a sense of somebody ippudanna chanpute vallu ikkade unnattunnaru anpichinattu kaadu. It just feels like he's there, like his essence is like so much there. Whenever you think of it, it just kind of overwhelms you when you think of it, and that just makes your ego go away. Now AirPods are like giving me a echo, sorry, and I'm sorry if my voice sounds weird. Kani, I feel that whoever is here to read his teachings, and maybe we can compile all the personal experiences and give a glimpse of what what kind of a person he was, to affect this much change for so many people. That would be so good. And he did immense. He did so much immense amount of practical and wisdom and everything that nobody else could give you, other than a realized soul like him. So that's what I would say. I don't know.
The very reason we are taking the interviews of all the devotees, as many as possible, because and whoever is willing to come forward to speak it, because while cheppin dantloంచి the prime essence of what Nana has been and how he has transformed lives తీసుకుని for people for generations to come to know what a what a Mahatma lived and imparted, and your journey inwards, nuvanna subject is there to take you inwards and realize the truth by ante a subject nu correct ga avagahan cheskunte chalu, nu pedda pedda sadhanalu kustilu pattakkarledu. It is simple here and now. It's just a wrong identity that you have to come out of anedi chala clear ga subject lo telustundi with examples telustundi. I know. It makes it very very easy and simple.
Correct. And he was like he was one of those personalities that walked on earth doing good to so many people as his mission to spread this knowledge. Unlike any other guru, maybe only Shankara comes to mind. And the Ramana Maharshi is there and all that. There is very few people that are the stature of walked it through, who just lived for this, to spread this knowledge and to uplift the people who are still thought identified and suffering for no reason.
So true.
Well, I mean, he got him out of that for sure. So, and thank you for letting me revisit my memories and my association with him. I'm sure everybody, whoever was associated with him, will have stories to tell. But this is
one amazing journey. Maybe you have many more, and you picked a few which you felt were profound for people listening also. I'm sure you have many more memories, and thank you so much. This was such an amazing session.
No problem.
We meet a lot. Thank you for the wonderful session.
Thank you. Thanks, Usha.
Also Om Sri Nana Paramatmane Namaha.
Guru Rupamo Giri Rupamo Sri Nana Padame Maku Saranyam